what's going on? Celtics fall to the Minnesota Timberwolves at TD Garden, 102-92, your final score. The first time the Celtics have lost to the Timberwolves, as Mike Tirico told you there. The first time since March 6, 2005 that Minnesota's won at TD Garden. And there was that 16-0 run early in the fourth quarter that really decided this thing. Celtics were able to take the lead there early in the fourth quarter. But Minnesota just kept coming and coming, and they get the win tonight, Eddie.
Physical. They were physical. They were handsy. Every shot, it felt like it was a forced shot. There was nothing clean, not too many clean shots tonight. If you go back and replay it in your head or go back and watch it again, we didn't have a lot of clean shots. Their defense was stacked. They played well. The pickup points were high. As soon as we crossed over half court, our offense was like we were on our heels a lot of the times. 17 assists and 11 turnovers? No, 13 turnovers. And we had 13 turnovers. And, you know, the magic number is 25. We're nowhere near that. But that you have to make shots. We weren't able to make shots. And, you know, it's just one of them games where I felt like you could do this. You could lose a game. You know what I mean? You could get outplayed sometimes or out-coached, out-X and O'd and things like that. But you can't get outworked. And I felt like they outworked us tonight.
Yeah, and it was weird because, like, in the first quarter, it felt like it was the complete opposite. Just when they're ripping rebounds away from Gobert and bringing energy going the other way. And it's easy to forget, the Celtics going on an 11-0 run, start of the third quarter. Jason Tatum all of a sudden takes it up a level. Looks like the Celtics might actually just start motoring away in a game that they probably should have been up at halftime. And all of a sudden, just the wheels come off completely. They got boned. Like, literally doing his little wavy hands and stuff. I don't know what was going on that stretch, but the energy and the momentum in that game just completely shifted. And the Celtics looked really, really uncomfortable offensively for the better part of that second half. I mean, they barely got to double digits before the main Red Claws were subbing in there, or main Celtics. So, they were probably overdue for a night like that in terms of lacking the energy. They've been consistently bringing it. They've been really good in this stretch. So it's a little jarring when it happens. And I won't make too many overreactions, but they have not had the best record against teams that are in the top 10 for whether it's point differential and offensive rating, defensive rating. So they just got to be better against the elite competition, and they just weren't on the level of Minnesota tonight.
Yeah, they get swept by Minnesota for the first time in over 25 years as Minnesota won the first matchup going back to that game in Minneapolis when Anthony Edwards hit that huge three. He did not play tonight, but that did not stop the Timberwolves from taking over in the fourth quarter. And again, this was a 3-point Minnesota lead at the half. As Chris mentioned, you had that great run by the Celtics at the beginning of the third, but then it was all about Minnesota.
Can't be getting outworked by slow-mo. The dude's name is slow-mo.
Eddie, you talked a lot about Jaden McDaniels, too, in the pregame show or at halftime, and he went off in the second half. He had a huge half, but
they had those wavy arms.
Yeah, it just felt like they got going, and they realized they could take this game, and everyone expected a game that, they were double-digit underdogs. People expected them to lose, and it was there for them.
Yeah, once the momentum started flowing for them, it was like we could never get it back. We allowed them, I won't even say allow. What they did was they came out and they put it to us. They outworked us. It seemed like they were always a step faster. They always pushed it. Every time there was a live ball turnover, they were pushing the basketball. Every time there was a rebound, they were pushing the basketball. They were playing so much faster than we were. It was almost like we were a little bit stuck in mud like we were the last game, and we found a way to win it. But at the same time, you don't want to get used to starting off slow or starting off fast and then allowing the team to come back, and then you got to start trying to regroup because they're pros. Once that momentum starts flowing, I mean, like Bones Highland, it's going to be hard to stop a guy like that who plays to the crowd, who plays to the opposite team's bench, who plays off of emotion. It's hard to stop guys once they get going like that. And so I look at it as just we got outworked, and that's the one thing you don't want to say when you go into the locker room and you look at this tape tomorrow. You don't want to be like, yeah, we just got outworked. Yeah. You can lose games. That happens. You know what I mean? You might not be making shots. That's okay. But to get outworked, and I felt like we got outworked tonight.
Yeah, and again, Bones was clearly under their skin. I mean, he is on the list for pointing at Ugo when we was getting that foul call.
What list is he on?
I'm writing it down right now. He made the list. You know what? You know what?
It would be Forsberg's 4, but it's way more than 4.
Yeah,
it's
you
like
know
Forsberg's
what kind of
14.
list it is, Eddie. Don't ask obvious questions here. So, look, the Celtics. Again, I don't want to give them a pass because they have not had like one of these games where they just completely lack the energy. But I think it was frustrating in the first half that you hold them to 14 points in the first quarter. Felt like you probably should have had a little bit more separation, but you're not knocking down threes. You're relying on Jaylen Brown to kind of carry the offense at that point. And all of a sudden, then you get super sloppy with the basketball in the second quarter, and they just never had any sort of rhythm or consistency in this game. They would have good stretches where, okay, JT gets going in that third, but they just couldn't bottle it up. And give credit to Minnesota. Again, the physical teams have made the Celtics uncomfortable at times this season, and that's part of the reason when we start looking ahead to the playoffs, we start thinking about, even New York with the wings they can throw at you, Detroit with their size. Celtics have to be better able to handle that physicality.
So do you think the reason why they were a little step slow is because they got in at 7:30 in the morning? Nobody wants to make that excuse, right? We don't, because we still got to play.
To make that excuse. But
Scal said it to us off air.
Sure.
So for the people that are out there don't know that they landed yesterday at 7:30 in the morning. They were on the runway, tarmac or runway, wherever they was at for, 8 hours, I guess. And, you get in at 7 in the morning, you might have a little bit, what they call jet lag, right? You might have a little bit of that. But still, it's no excuse because they came out and held them to 14 points in the first quarter, But then after that, it seemed like one team had way more energy than the other team. Mm-hmm. One team was a step slow. The other team was a step faster. And every rotation, they were on their rotation. Their hands were there where they needed to be, where when I looked at it as, because there was one play where JT could have been over there on the rotation. He was late. We got lucky on that play, though. Then Derek White was a little late on the rotation. So sometimes that does factor in, but there's no excuse at all. We're not going to make no excuses for this loss. They got outworked because I feel like Minnesota's effort was here, and our effort was like right here. And that's no slight to these guys. I know they were playing hard out there, but I felt like they were on another level tonight.
And Celtics got off to such a good start right out of the gate, both the first quarter and the third quarter. So it kind of felt like that third quarter, that run they went on at the beginning of the third, Chris, they had fixed things.
I'll just bottom line it. Like, it could just be a one-night thing. Could be any multitude of reasons that they just didn't have it consistently tonight. If it lingers into Wednesday against OKC, we can sit here and wonder what's going on. But, yeah, just very uncharacteristic of the team tonight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, they'll have a couple days off before they play that game against OKC. When they do, right now they've got a half-game lead over the New York Knicks. And, by the way, the New York Knicks have the tiebreaker. So,
as of right now.
So the Knicks won tonight?
2-1 right now, and we got one more game with them.
But the Knicks have the tiebreaker based on divisional record.
Yeah. They can make that up.
I thought
they can? Is that definitely done?
I thought that was all set, and the Knicks had the tiebreaker.
Oh, now you're breaking my heart.
Sorry. But the important number here is the loss column.
Right.
So the Celtics have one fewer losses than the Knicks, one less loss than the Knicks. So they still, are in control as far as the standings go.
Now that I'm thinking about it, so they had to make up 2 games in the division. There's only 1 game left against New York, and I don't think they're going to play anybody else in the division. So,
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where this becomes, if they want to hang on to that 2 seed, things got a little tighter tonight. By the way, New York played Washington, so you know what happened there.
There's a
Wizards. Yeah. But things getting a little bit tighter. And as you mentioned, they've got another tough test coming up on Wednesday night against OKC.
And I think this is the way it's going to be. The Celtics' strength of schedule to the finish line is pretty daunting, right? Like one of the tops in the NBA, whereas the competition around them is playing some, at worst, middle of the pack, and most of them to the back end. And so, a team like Detroit, you weren't going to catch them no matter what, but they were going to benefit from the schedule. So even without Cade, they were going to be prohibitive to catch. The Knicks is the interesting one. If they continue to play as consistently as they have lately and they're not facing the same level of competition as you, it's going to be harder to fend them off. It will be interesting to see just how much the Celtics want to push. We spent a lot of time on that on pregame. Do you just want to beat 3 and live with it and just focus on getting yourself right? And maybe that means taking some bumps along the way. They've got some decisions to make as they get towards the finish line of this season.
There's only one way to get yourself right, and that's to play top-level competition. We're moving on into the playoffs now. How many games we got left?
11?
11 games left, right? So before you know it, it's going to be playoff time. So when I look at it is, okay, well, we have a tough schedule. Well, good. Good. We should want that. We should embrace that, because what that's going to do is going to sharpen everybody, right? Okay. Now the coaching staff is going to figure out, okay, this is the type of rotation that I'm going to work with. Guys that might be outside of the rotation, be ready, because you might be used in a certain game. We might need you, so stay ready. Other guys, let's sharpen up our things. You know, we've seen a few, I think this is a good learning tool for them. And I hate having to learn off of a loss, because you could always learn off of a win as well. But this was a great learning tool for them to see, okay, it's a copycat league. Teams are going to start playing them the same way. They're going to pick them up high. As soon as you cross over half court, they're going to put pressure on you, and they're going to be handsy. They're going to see if you get away with it. We can't be complaining to the referees. Just got to focus on being the best version of yourself, being a star in your role, and making sure that you're doing all of the right things for this team to win, no matter what it is. If it's setting a screen, if it's taking the charge, if it's having to foul somebody so they don't get an easy layup, all of those small things add up to big things and add up to wins. So when I look at it, I'll just say, I'm happy that they have this path into the playoffs, because they're going to have some time off, right?
Yeah, they'll have a week.
Yep. All right, but as it is, they fall to 47-24 now on the season. Let's send it back out. Abby Chin standing by with head coach Joe Mazzulla.
Joe, what changed after you guys took a 14-point lead in the second quarter?
I thought in the third quarter, it's a long game in the second quarter, so there's a lot going on. The third quarter, I thought it was a tale of two halves. I thought we got off to a great start. But even when we were scoring, we were giving up easy baskets in transition. McDaniels had a great third quarter, and the combination of our transition defense and our offense, whether it was their physicality, or our poor execution, or just some missed shots, just didn't go our way in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, what led to that 16-0 run for the Wolves in the fourth?
Yeah, a little bit of it was our offense. When you miss layups, you have empty possessions, they get out and run in transition. They're able to take advantage of it. Some of it, we only had one turnover in the second half. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it just kind of came from our offense, and then they got guys that can make plays.
How long do you sit with this one with OKC coming up on Wednesday?
You just, again, regardless of if you win, regardless of if you lose, you just stick to the process of getting better.
Joe, thank you.
Thanks.